This week on Sky Notes, Tracy and Lillian take you through the ups and downs of the astrology of June 1st to June 7th. We'll also give you an overview of the whole month of June, the ups, the downs, the twists and turns, and the road ahead. So grab your coffee and join us while we check our Sky Notes.
Welcome to Sky Notes. What are we talking about today, Tracy?
Hi, Lillian. Well, we're going to talk about the month of June. And we're going to talk a little bit about the month, but we're going to break it down into weeks. And so we're going to talk about it a little bit differently this time. So June 2026 is opening in. Did you find it unusual when you looked at how the month is starting?
Yes. I felt as though there was kind of an alley-oop from the full moon that will be happening on the last day to the first day of the month, opening up into this process of giving, this disseminating, it goes full to disseminating to balsamic. So it's different. I cannot remember. Did we have a new moon starting the last month?
I think we did.
Yeah. So this is fundamentally different. And I had a notion of talking about planetary charities because there's a sense of fullness. And some of that can be appropriately given to charities and donated and all that kind of stuff. And when we talk about the Mercury moving into Cancer, I can't help but think about Jupiter being in Cancer and its recent touch into Uranus, which I think of as it collecting a lot of information and then bringing it over to the Cancer sign, and then it will distribute that information for good or for ill. If it edits it well, it will be good.
Right. I really like that you brought up the planetary charity piece today because Jupiter is in its last moments of its sign of exaltation. So it is kind of our last stand in terms of, doing Jupiter planetary charity while Jupiter is in, very happy place.
Right.
And we're also at a point of, it feels like there's a lot of things closing just because we have a couple of big shifts that have either just happened or are about to happen.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have near the end, we have a solstice happening. So there is this interesting, wrap some stuff up, guys. And I just wanted to say, we started actually May on a full moon again.
Oh,
so
okay.
It was a lunation. So you
right.
had that part right, for sure. But there's this interesting thing, this interesting pattern where we're getting this year, Mercury's retrogrades are all in water.
Right.
So that is not an objective place for Mercury. And so that means that when we have Mercury going through an element or a sign, it's going to be there for a really long time. So Mercury spending a lot of time in water this year. Yeah. So in our emotional life and in our emotions, Mercury's not as logical as it normally would be.
Mm-hmm.
So to have these months starting from that full moon objective place is kind of a gift, right? Yeah. It is creating a bit of balance between the two things, I would say. Hey, yeah. So I don't think I've ever noticed as much these balances where something is really swayed one way. In this case, it's the water and the emotional Mercury, to the points of objectivity to make sure that we can stay grounded and see from an objective point of view. So we're really being given sort of challenging things to go through, but gifts to navigate it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It is. So you were heading to where I was heading, which is the piece that I was relating to when you got into the Mercury ingressing into Cancer and its time with the water. I think I talked about it quite a bit with the Saturn and Pisces at the tail end. I have this sense of the water being, let's say in this case, too much, rather than kind of the last dregs, which was the vibe I got when Saturn was in the last degrees of Pisces. So too much, and it goes into Cancer. It is not objective, but there's something you've been talking about with the outer signs being in fire and air where they are objective. And the word you used, which I really enjoyed, was dispassionate. And so there's this requirement to be precise. But the closest vibe, and sometimes we talk about the octaves, higher octave, lower octave. And so the lower octave of Uranus is Mercury, I think. I don't know. I think it is. We'll figure it out.
One of the theories. Yeah, for sure.
One of the theories. And the reason why I bring it up is so Jupiter is beliefs and philosophies. And there's an illusion that you've studied and you've knocked out your ego's thoughts about those things. And you're following the path that's true and all this stuff. And Mercury is like, does not have any requirement to be of any quality whatsoever. Mercury's hilarious that way. You know, that baby who stole the herd from Apollo and used shoes to make it look like they ran off another way and was like, I'm a baby, you know, it's not required, right? But in its higher self, it tells the truth. And it just came from Uranus and it's bringing all this stuff. So we're having emotional responses in a dispassionate world. So you're right. It's like very challenging to either say, I'm responding emotionally, I'll try again later, or I'm going to go somewhere where I can scream. I was laughing with you about I draw cartoons, you know, to get or play music. You know, there's a whole playlist I have about people who are assholes who I hate, and I only play it when I'm really mad. You know what I mean? So that it's not about other people. It's just me, 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 me. And so that I think is the opportunity and the challenge.
Okay, so I'm going to just expand on that a little bit because what you said made me just sort of realize something. So a lot of what you said to me is the challenges of having all of this stuff in water with the outer planets in fire and air. And absolutely right. The potential for us to be really living in our emotions and maybe to wallow self-pity, that's there, right? We're definitely going through that, through some kind of a roller coaster of that all year, right? Yeah. But now the gift of it, if we can get out of ourselves and our pity party, is that we are being given the gift of empathy to be able to work with each other and care for each other with all that stuff in water while these big changes are happening with fire and air as a collective. So anybody who's tapping into it from a place of healing, it's beautiful energy. Like there's so much potential in it. But also the darker, I mean, the more the potential for positive, it swings the other way just as far.
Woof.
So
that's the two images. One was, you know, a surgeon with all the ancestors behind them working on a table. And the other was rescuers attempting to retrieve bodies from a dive gone wrong, and then they pass and the next rescuers pass. And one is the emotional focus. You know, you don't let people be awake during surgery because they would freak out.
That's true. So I love that because you know what popped into my head when you described that was there's all those videos of women giving the signal that they're in danger.
Yes.
And there was one that really struck me because there was like almost like a food court. And then it was like the entrance to a mall or something like that. Like it's a big, wide open, chaotic kind of space.
Right.
And she signaled at least 6 people, at least. I'm just trying to be conservative before anybody paid attention to her.
Right.
And so that's the image that
tells the story. Yeah. Don't give up. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
That is a challenge. That is a challenge.
If you're the bypasser, get out of yourself a little bit, you know, because I think that's the gift of
what we're being asked to be precise. We're not being asked to be disconnected.
Yeah.
Right. So can you either to yourself or to the other person say, whoops, let me change what I'm doing and go do the thing.
Yep.
And it does kind of feel, and I'm not sure if this is me projecting because I certainly feel this way. We're going into action. We're not in retreat. It's not the middle of winter. We're out there, you know, we're bumping into people. And so some of this can be expected, but wow, what a time, right? What a time to hold your beloveds. What a time to come back to them. What a time to run away in anger and come back and go, you're still here? Yay.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and you had said precise, and the word that kept coming to me was selective.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. It's time. One of the themes is, and I think we've actually been going through this for a while, but
Yeah.
it continues and sharpens, is we're not being asked to disconnect and ignore each other.
Right.
We're being asked to be selective about who we share our energy with and who we share with, you know?
Yeah.
And also, if we stick with those rescue metaphors,
Mm-hmm.
helping somebody doesn't mean you're married to them.
Right.
I think that a lot of times when we're in stressful times like we are now, people are afraid to commit to anything.
Right.
You know, and so it tends to really hold people back from doing things, because it's like, no, none of us are married to any of this. We're in a trial period across the board.
And again, I want to be really clear about why I use those kind of emergency things and why, because I am using them for a specific reason. It is almost impossible to physically or successfully convey how process can feel, regardless of the content you're grappling with. So I'm trying to get to a meeting on time. All of a sudden, I'm on a cliff and a helicopter's lowering in front of me. I'm going, get back to my meeting. And they're going, if we grab you right now, you're going to spin. We need you to calm down. We need you to da-da-da. You know what I mean? Like, then I really physically understand, like, oh, processes are feeling one way, feeling another way, reacting, regrouping, getting to your destination, observing the outcome, moving on. It's not, I want to tell you what's going to change. What is that? The Charlie Brown Christmas tree, I guess, is the best example of that, right? Grab your little Christmas tree, the magic happens. Beautiful Christmas tree.
And I love that from the perspective of, and I can't remember what I was writing, but there was a moment astrologically where it felt like this is where we see that the emperor's naked.
Yeah.
So kind of this similar, the opposite, but similar vibe, right?
I like it.
You know, there is this feeling of the fantasy world that we're still kind of trying to navigate from Neptune and Pisces and Mercury and Pisces for so long.
And in the personal world, when you're an emperor with no clothes, right? It's going to be okay. And you're going to figure out, you know, if you need to wear clothes at all, or if something's going on. Like, that's the crazy Libra thing that I've picked up from not Libra, forgive me, Leo thing from astrology. And I'm just bringing it up because I love that dynamic where you are exposed, you are visible, and you're not thinking about your flaws, but you're selective. And so the people who love you are not injured by your flaws. They love what you do. They have margin for it. They can communicate with you about it. And it's okay. On a political level, get your damn fashion right. Emperor.
Exactly. So overall, I would say this is a highly emotionally charged month.
Mm-hmm.
There's no earth.
Wow.
Yeah, we are lacking the element of earth. So there are going to be times this month where you're going to feel very welcome. You're going to welcome the grounding that the moon brings.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I like it. I like it.
And to me, when we have to depend on the moon bringing in the element, the energy is always
chaotic.
Right. Not to mention that so many planets are going to be ruled by the moon. Mm-hmm. We are this month is going to be a roller coaster. Mm-hmm. It is going to be emotional. Mm-hmm. And I feel like there's a huge element of nostalgia this month.
Ooh, I like that.
Yes, with all of the Cancer.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Not only that, but also with the things at 29 degrees throughout the month. So yeah, there's a tying up loose ends. There's, you know, revisiting the past for things that need to get dealt with, maybe. That's kind of a theme of the month. is what I kind of picked up on. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. And there's in that, there's kind of a piece where it's what I was trying to talk about before we turned on the record, which is that notion of dying before you die, which is like a Sufi concept, but certainly other orders have had that, and a spiritual concept where you let go of your ego. So the one I'm super familiar with is a descent of Inanna, where I let go of being a daughter, a wife, a woman, artist, an astrologer, etc. And then when I get to the bottom, I meet with Ereshka gal, who is not brooking any argument, and I'm hung up like she was hung up. And then I get sent back to intentionally select what comes next, endings and beginnings, because I feel like that's what we're grappling with. The beginning is what we are when we come out of that, which is steadfast, more steadfast, because it is the things that are still there. And so there's a sense of landing that I think we've talked about a bit with this year too. So that is captured in this month.
Talk about the astrology for the week of May 31st to June 7th.
Thank you, Tracy.
And we open up with a full moon, and it's kind of an interesting energy because the full moon happens. Oh, it's in the middle of the night on Sunday. So we have a full moon. The full moon energy is all day on the 31st. And it's a full moon in Sagittarius, meaning the sun is in Gemini and the moon is in Sag. And so, that gives us the opening of the month. We've got the objectivity. We've got maybe some loud opinions with a full moon in Sag.
Yeah.
Right. And then, so we had talked about there are new beginnings this month, but there are also lots of loose ends being tied up. So right away, the first thing that happens on June 1st is Mercury moves from the sign of Gemini into Cancer. Yeah. And that's significant because we've already mentioned Mercury is in water a lot this month. So it's actually going to be in Cancer. I have the until August 10th.
That's crazy.
June 1st to August 10th. That's insane. I mean, it was in Gemini for 17 days. So we're getting we're really getting slammed with the Mercury being in
and
these
some
water
things
signs.
About Mercury and Cancer are like you get impressions that last a long time. So what a great summer to make memories. And so what a great summer to tenderize your heart and let yourself be with the people you love.
And super nostalgic, super nostalgic. Because Cancer itself is, nostalgic and connected to family and past and country and all of these things. But then to have it also retrograde in the middle, and then the shadow periods are also in Cancer, there's just that much more from the past that we're revisiting with this, Mercury retrograde.
And would you argue that the rulership of Jupiter by Cancer would just create this resonance and the proximity of it, even though Jupiter's going to move into Leo this month?
Yes, absolutely. What's real? Well, so that I mean, Jupiter in Leo is not subtle. So when I think about what we just said about Mercury and Cancer, and then the fact that it's going to run over both the 4th of July and Canada Day. Wow. And the state that both countries are going through. I just can't even imagine what our national holidays are going to look like. The holidays celebrating our nations, I can't it just feels like with Jupiter and Leo and all of that Cancer energy and the nationalism and the connection to our past, I feel like this is just going to be redonkulous.
We're talking about the 31st, the 1st through the 6th.
So the first, we have the Mercury moves into Cancer for a very, very long camping session in there. And then we have the sun is going to sextile Saturn on the 2nd. So that's a nice opportunity.
Grounding.
For, realism.
Yeah.
And so that's a nice energy. And then by June 3rd, that's a really interesting day astrologically, because Mercury, while it's going through that Cancer, is going to be trine the North Node in Pisces
Mm.
and square Neptune in Aries. So for the non-astrologers, when we talk about aspects with the nodes, there's usually some kind of a karmic. When we're talking about for everybody, there's some kind of a karmic feeling to that,
Or
the events that happen.
a revisiting that isn't about current experiences. We're revisiting a topic.
And it's interesting because to me, North Node and either one of the nodes in Pisces has got a real like I feel like we're seeing retribution.
All right.
Like,
Okay. I love what
you know
you're
what I'm
saying.
saying?
Hold on, let me gather my thoughts here for just a second. Yeah, so that's actually related to that idealism thing, I think, if I may, just to kind of open that up. But you say what you're saying.
Well, no, and I just wanted to add that, like what Sam Reynolds had said about that Pisces needing to teach a lesson energy. You know, when you wrap that in,
that's the one
with the karmic stuff. Yeah. I feel like the energy for the time that the nodes have been in these signs that it has felt like, I don't know if it's true, but just on an energetic level, things that are happening to bad actors, they have a feeling of karmic retribution to them. Whether that's true or not, it's just sort of the sense that you get from it.
I totally agree. I'm having like 14 gajillion thoughts. I just appreciate it so much. So my experience with the nodes, especially with Pisces and Virgo, is that the Pisces node, like let's say you're talking about the South node, right? The Pisces South node has access to this tremendous ease because in a way, right, they also have access to a cacophony, to difficulty creating and landing boundaries. There's all sorts of stuff that are difficult about it. But what's quite lovely is you can kind of just, put your hand out and stuff starts gathering around it and happening and existing. And with Virgo on the South node, it's the opposite, right? Because Virgo needs a plan. And so there's a tension between those two, right? Where it's fine for you to do things beautifully once, but I hope you wrote down every step of it because next time we're going to have to be intentional. And so to me, there's like a sense of intention. And I love that you brought in Sam's Zodiac Mafia because there is with that idealism kind of an explosive, like not explosive, but a justice that isn't grounded. And then you get the retribution, right?
Right.
I love also what you're saying about there's lessons and you have to be serious. I like there's like a, that's the only piece that's missing. There's, in my mind, I want to add, there's like a soberness, it's like being, again, I don't mean to do this extreme stuff to describe the real world. I am trying to describe a feeling. It's like being in a sick ward. You don't want to like, unless you're a clown. You want to be serious, you want to be quiet, So those are all the impressions I'm getting about that feeling of karmic retribution and how it's related to idealism.
Right. Well, and so on that June 3rd, when we've got the Mercury in Cancer trine the North Node, it will square Neptune in Aries.
Right.
So to me, like that felt like some kind of, with squares, there's some kind of a conflict or, coming up against something.
Wow.
So it's going to be an interesting day because it's part of the lead into what's happening with Uranus and the nodes a little bit later in the month.
Right.
So it feels like an unfolding story. Like we're going to start to see some things become quite obvious, and what happens because of them will be shocking because it's Uranus that's coming in to sort of slap things into shape. So yeah, pay attention because things are going to unfold in a very interesting way this month.
Right.
What are your thoughts on Neptune, Mercury square Neptune? Mercury in Cancer square Neptune in Aries.
So frustrating. I mean, in a way, there may be new conversations, right? Because those are both cardinal energies and they excel at starting things. So let's say you've got a project or something. It might not be a bad time to start your project because there is an inherent amount of chaos at the beginning, misunderstandings or things you have to course correct down the line. And so it would be using that energy in a good way. But what is difficult, I find, and I'm somebody who has Mercury conjunct Neptune in Scorpio, is that I've said it before, I can't really trust my first thoughts, if that makes sense. I have to let them erode like a bank on a stream to find their shape and then look at that. And that's what I'm going to go with, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I saw a rock tumbling.
Yes.
And it can either get polished or disintegrate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well put.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I picked up on, and while you were talking, it crystallized for me, is that whenever Mercury and Neptune have a direct conversation, there's generally some kind of a miscommunication that, or misunderstanding, right? That leads to something like unveiling something. Like there's a course correction that is really important, that the connection of those two things will unlock. And so, Neptune comes in and kind of shows us maybe where we're being overly rose-colored glasses about something, or where we are deluding ourselves in some way, right? And then with that Mercury in Cancer, it could be a memory from our past could get sorted out, right? Like how we remember something and we've held on to maybe a negative or positive feeling, and then we find out that, oh no, that's not how it went at all.
Yeah.
That's the energy that I feel with that combination for sure. And that could be because it is Neptune and it's the nodes. That could be something that we all figure out on a grand scale. Like
I like it.
That I believe there was a moon landing, but the energy is that we find out that it definitely did, or definitely didn't. Like that with a realization,
Right. Which is calling back to that, die before you die, and then be a witness to what shows up. Right. It's not saying we're all done at all. It's just this very interesting, some things are. Your point.
Yeah. Well, and I was just going to say that the downfall of that, when we're all collectively feeling kind of raw and emotional, is that you're going to have one part of the population feeling really satisfied with themselves, and the other, right? And so that in itself is going to create some kind of collective conflict.
There is no way to get through this period, I think, without even just being in the eye line of a conflict, if that makes sense. You don't have to get involved. No one's asking for that. You'll be summoned.
Well, and it really does continue to speak to that theme that I was like completely picking up on before we started to move into this heavy Aries energy with the outers and like Uranus in Gemini and stuff. That there's some ego adjusting that's going to need to happen. So we're going to go through these periods where that stuff that we've kind of gotten stuck on, that's not really helping us out much, will get shaken loose. And this is one of those key moments. The next day on June 4th, Mercury is quincunx Pluto. So it's like, boom, there's the adjustment.
Right.
There's some kind of adjustment to power there. Some kind of we've got to alter our trajectory just a little bit. Because, whatever the message is, Pluto's there to go, it's not going to go the way you think it is. So let's figure it out. So something goes off course on June 4th. And then it's a very quiet end of the week because,
isn't it?
Right. Because Friday, what do you have for void of course on Friday? What time does that go in for you?
Hold on a second. I got to fix that first. It goes in at 3:49 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, so
that lasts. This is the part where it gets real quiet if you're lucky. Or picnics, I guess. Do something where you've got a lot of margin for error. All the way through Saturday, it's void of course.
I mean, it's a beautiful time to, work your ass off and get clean everything out and get things wrapped up. Like it's it's a really good energy for that.
Yeah.
One of the gifts that I wanted to mention, talking about all that emotional, like water energy, The moon is in Capricorn for most of that first week,
Oh, yeah.
thank goodness. So that's our nice. We've got 3 days of grounding from the
Yeah.
1st to the 4th.
Yeah.
And then it goes into Aquarius. So it with both of those places for the moon, we are able to be a bit more detached.
That's right.
So that feels to me like we're getting eased into that Mercury in Cancer. Like that's the little gift of having Mercury in Cancer for that long. We didn't get thrown into the bathtub right
Yeah.
off the bat, right?
Yeah. It's nice to see the webbing of support that you can find.
For sure, for sure. So take advantage of that grounding energy through that week, and then the ability to check your boundaries with Mercury, Moon in Aquarius is
That's
really
good.
helpful.
That's
Yeah,
really
so
good.
you're going to have 3 days to detach from any emotional crap you've let yourself get roped into. So, those are the benefits of that week. So
Yes.
use them,
Yes.
if you can pull yourself back in times when it's necessary.
Yeah.
Count on the moon for that because it's giving you that gift.
I really like it. And then we said before, the theme is not to be disconnected, it's to be selective. I love that you added that.
Yeah, selective and detach when you need to. It's with all of this water energy, practicing no
Yeah.
is super important.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to get sucked in when everything's in water and everybody can feel everybody else's.
That's what I mean by that impression part too. Things kind of last,
Yes. Water holds everything.
Yeah.
Water has memory.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah. So it's important. So I'm going to also add in that, energetic hygiene is going to be really important through this time. If you're feeling really overwhelmed by people, go shower it off, go
such a good advice.
Blow in the wind, like anything you can do to clear that energy field.
Yeah.
Use smoke, whatever you need to do.
Right.
Because it'll be really easy for all of us to pick up on everybody else's sludge, energetic sludge.
Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean it's your business. And it doesn't mean you're right.
No.
You're going to mask someone else's emotions with your own characters. And that is not a service to anyone. You don't have to do it.
Yep. Yeah. My biggest advice for the whole month, but for this week as we're sort of adjusting to all the extra water is if you start feeling yourself getting dragged into something, stop. Is that your business? None of your fucking business. Turn around and do something else.
It's the best advice you can give people who are prone to being psychic is if you're picking up a whole bunch of information, you're probably where you shouldn't be. And you may misinterpret it as a result because you want context for someone's business.
All right. Well, and especially if you're not somebody who's used to dealing with that and you haven't created some kind of a process to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
So if you are somebody who is used to picking up other people's energies and messages, then just be aware that they will flood in. And so again, energetic hygiene, psychic hygiene is really important at this time.
Yeah. And I love what you said about being swept in. I was looking for an example of it in my notebook because you've said that before. And I actually added that to my daily planner where there's just a little like squiggle and it says, are you being sucked in? Because I'm a very emotional person and I misunderstand that almost all the time. And so if I have something as simple as saying, are you being swept in? And I can feel that vibe of, for me, it feels like, what? I must do something. And then just a cast of characters from when I was 4 and off we go. So if I can just stop it at, I feel it a little bit, I'll just put it on that drawing and send it away.
Right.
Business. And that, in a way, there's no wrong place to be during these periods. But if you don't like where you are, that's the diagnostic information you need to shift it.
Yes, absolutely. And at times like this, it's most, I'm going to use dangerous, but that seems a bit dramatic. But I'm going to stay there because, words. For those of like you who has so much water, right? If you're not somebody who, you are not like this, but many people before they learn how to navigate the water, really like, and I'm saying people with a lot of water in their chart. Sorry, that was the thing I missed. So people who have a lot of water in their chart and haven't learned what's theirs and what's not theirs and how to navigate that. A time like this, it's really easy to get swept up in other people's emotions so you can avoid your own, because that can be one of the things that happens with heavy water people.
Yeah.
Is that they'll help everybody else to avoid helping themselves. And
There's
so
a billion manifest. Sorry, carry on.
No, that's okay. You're the one who lives it. So,
I wanted to say my recent discoveries have been things like before parasocial stuff, as a watery person, if I saw a person I admired, I would try as quickly as possible to adopt their best habits. What? You know what I mean? Like, what is that? And so before parasocial, when people would say, I can talk to Whoopi Goldberg on Twitter, whenever, sorry, that was so from another time. I can talk on social media to a celebrity. And as a result, we're close friends. And I tell her happy birthday. And one time she liked my post. Versus I'm having a healthy relationship with another person who's their own being. And I'm not pretending that I'm them or any of this means something or stuff like that. So to your point, learning to navigate means you don't end up trying to process someone else's energy for them, which is a full-time job for the rest of your life and never will work out. You don't create distorted versions of people you love. You let them be who they are.
Yeah.
And you feel your feelings, which is an essential metabolizing process to get back to who you are after you've been disrupted.
Exactly. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes. So protect ground, energetically protect, energetic hygiene. Very important. And, the opportunity to sort of get that started in the first week of June is there for everybody.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yay.
So this was really fun, and we will be back with next week soon.
Excellent. Thank you. Have a great week.